Okay, lesson 11 of Syriac. We're on Robinson's chapter 8, verbs. Finally, we get to the verbs. Well, what happened? What happened? Sorry, I lost it. Okay. I don't know why that happened. Okay, verbs, the perfect tense. As in other Semitic languages, verbs in Syriac have a root or stem consisting of three letters or radicals. You already know this. So radical means root letters. I mean, the word radix in Latin means a root. And so radicals are root letters. Generally, there are three of them, not always, but almost always. Some exceptions appear in chapter 16. Okay. A verb is inflected by applying different vowels or doubling to these radicals and by adding suffixes or prefixes, which he's giving you new names for affirmatives and preformatives. I don't see any reason to add different names to things, but that's fine. Inflections of the verb indicate 1, conjugation, 2, tense, and 3, number, person, and gender. Conjugations, a feature of Semitic languages, correspond, I mean, there's other languages that have conjugations. Anyway, correspond somewhat to the inflections known as voices in Indo-European languages, but they have a wider scope. The names of the conjugations are based on the verb ba'al, to labor. And each name comes from the way that conjugation modifies the three root letters. The names and meanings of the 6 principal conjugations in Syriac are thus as follows. Okay, yet again, grammarians are not good at naming things. So what I have called the basic form of the verb, they call, instead of just the basic verb, they call it the fa'al verb. What I called the passive, they call the ithfa'al. There's a name, that's the name of it, is that sound. The intensive that we went through in the blue book, instead of just calling it the intensive, they want to call it the fa'al. The passive intensive, they want to call the ithfa'al. The causative, instead of calling it a causative, they want to call it the ap'al. And the passive of the causative, they want to call the ittap'al. So the way they're naming this is not according to the meaning, which is the way that I name them. They're naming it according to the way the verb sounds when you're conjugating it. And so they just chose this random verb, ba'al, to labor. It's random. And they just use that to name all these 6 conjugations. Really, there's 3. There's the basic form, ba'al, and it has a passive. There's the intensive form, pa'al, and it has the passive as well. And then there's the causative ap'al, and that has a passive. So there's really 3, and each of them has a passive. You want to learn these, that's fine. Lots of grammars use them. Dictionaries, you'll see that dictionaries refer to, oh, the pa'al of this verb means this. So it's not going to hurt you to learn these. I just think they're just like not the smartest ways to name things, but whatever. There are some less common conjugations, which will be met in chapter 17. I don't think I'm going to go over that with you guys. I'm just going to do the basic stuff, and you guys can learn the exceptions on your own. It's basically the same idea, just kind of vowels move around usually, and it's not really worth my time to go through that with you. The verb used in the paradigms is not ba'al, but to kill, qtal. Isn't that fun? So now they're naming things according to this verb, but they're not actually going to use this verb as their example. They're going to use this violent verb to kill. This verb does not actually appear in all 6 conjugations, nor does any other verb. That's probably true. But it's useful to keep the same root throughout the next few lessons. I actually agree with this move, and I actually think that qtal is in Syriac probably the most regular of all verbs, so it is a good one to use as an example all the way through. Okay. Whoa. I skipped something. Oh, okay. The various conjugations of tal look like this in their basic form, the third masculine singular perfect. Okay, this is an important thing. I didn't really stress this when we went through it. The basic form of the verb is this one. The third person masculine, singular, perfect. In other words, the basic form of the verb is he did that verb. So perfect is the past tense, basically. Third person masculine, singular is he. So he did that verb. So if you want to know the basic form of he killed, so if you want to, sorry, you want to know the basic form of kill, the most basic form without any added stuff is he killed, tal. And that's the simple conjugation, tal. The intensive of the same verb is qattal. So he murdered. It's the most basic form. What do I mean basic? If you're going to say she killed or we killed, you're going to be adding stuff to the end of it. This has nothing added to it. There's no qtaln or qtalton or anything. It's just the basic root with just the most basic vowels on it. So the simple conjugation, simple verb is qtal. The intensive is qattal. That's why it's named fa'al, because you can kind of feel the sound of it. Qattal. And the causative is aqtal. Aqtal. Tal, qattal, aqtal. And then basically the rest of these lessons are going to be one by one, we're going to go through each of these conjugations as well as their passives. Let's look at the passive version. So the simple is qtal. The passive is ithqtal. The intensive is qattal, he murdered. The passive is ithqattal, he was murdered. So qtal is he killed. Ithqtal is he was killed. Qattal, he murdered. Ithqattal, he was murdered. Aqtal, he caused someone to kill. Aqtal, he caused someone else to kill. Ittaqtal, he was caused to kill. Ittaqtal. We're gonna now don't if you don't remember all that, that's fine. Literally, the rest of the lessons that we're ever going to have in this class are going to be just working through each of these one by one. All of these are the third person masculine singular perfect. He, just to introduce the conjugations. The verb qtal is a strong verb. All three root letters are ordinary consonants, not alep, waw, or yod. So they're not weak letters. So it's a strong verb. And the third is not a double of the second. That's called a geminate verb. That's a special type as well. Many other verbs are weak. These fall into classes known, for example, as pe yod verbs, in which the first radical corresponding to the pe and pa'al is the weak letter yod. Again, terrible way to like organize things, but whatever. In this book, the strong verb is treated in all its conjugations first, then each class of weak verbs in its turn. I'm not going to go over the weak verbs. They're basically the same thing with some vowels moved. You guys can learn them on your own. Get a copy of the book and work through it. Within each conjugation, there are properly two tenses called the perfect and the imperfect. I would add to this the participle. He's not considering that a verb for grammatical reasons, whatever. It doesn't really matter how you rank it. The perfect corresponds roughly to the past and the imperfect to the future. That's fine, or to the imperfect, or to the subjunctive. The present is usually expressed by the participle. That's why I think you just call it the present tense, which is not formally considered a tense. I don't know why it's not. There's no reason not to consider it a tense. So I'm kind of critiquing this as we're going through, but whatever. The other forms of the verb are the infinitive and the imperative. So we actually went through all of these in the blue book, but we're going to go through them in a kind of more slow way here. The perfect and imperfect, the so-called finite forms of the verb, are inflected. This just means they have a pattern to make the same distinctions of gender, number, and person as the personal pronouns. So just like there's a I, you, he, she, we, you plural, they, in all the endings that we learn, the same thing is going to happen with the verb. The perfect, finally, we're getting a conjugation. The perfect is inflected by adding affirmatives to the system, meaning suffixes, like letters that come after it. These are Now, this is my biggest critique of this book and of basically every Syriac grammar, and lots of Hebrew grammars do this too. It is I will never understand it. I kind of get why they do it, but I don't think it's justified. Instead of doing what they did logically in all the previous chapters when they gave you the pronominal suffix endings and the pronouns, they just went in the logical order: I, you, he, first person, second person, third person. They're numbered. Just follow that number. For some reason, and I'll tell you what the reason is in a second, they do it in this completely backwards order. Instead of saying I killed, then you killed, then he killed, they start with he killed. Why do the grammars do that? Because of this. Just because the third person masculine singular is the basic form, for whatever reason, they think that that means that needs to be the first one that you see. So this dash means that there's nothing added to it. I don't see why that would have to completely turn everything upside down for the rest of the book. And yet all the verbs for the rest of this book are going to be given in this form, which I cannot stand. So this is one of the reasons why I went through the blue book first, because we put it in a more logical order there. But let's go through it. And I'm going to say these in the order that makes sense to me. So I'm going to be working from the bottom left and working up. So I killed is قتليث. So you take the root, tal, and you make this vowel قط, and then you make this vowel actually you make it قتليث, and then you add the th at the end. قتليث, I killed. You killed, masculine, طلت. So it's the root plus a tau at the end. Feminine, you killed, قتلت, with a tau and a silent yod at the end. قتليث, I killed. قتلت, you killed. قتلت, with a silent yod, you feminine killed. قتل, he killed. قتلث, she killed. Now, if you memorized this before, you should pat yourself on the back. It's going to be very easy for you because you already know what I'm talking about. If not, this is your chance to memorize it. These conjugations are the most important things to memorize in this language. If you're not going to memorize these, forget it. You're just never going to learn the language. And it's annoying, and I get it. And the endings, and all these look almost the same, and it's just very slight vowel differences. And it's so annoying to memorize these little tiny vowel differences. Yes, I agree. Too bad. Do it. You only have to do it like 3 times. You only have to learn 3 patterns like this, or 4 maybe. And then you have a key to the entire language. Put the work in. It'll take you a couple of days. Just bust your butt. Do it. You're going to thank yourself later. If you're not going to do this, you're never going to learn the language. You're never going to understand the language, because every verb works in this way. Okay. That's my pleading to you to please learn this if you actually want to learn the language. So, قتليث, قتلت, قتل, قتلن, we killed. قتلتون, you masculine killed, plural. قتلوا, or just قتل, they killed. قتلتين is feminine, you killed. قتلي, or just قتل, is they killed. All right, that's it. Just memorize this. You can go back to the blue book and memorize it if with the Eastern script and in that order, if you like that better. But memorize this, because every single verb, you just stick in the radicals, the root letters, into this pattern, and you have the past tense of that verb. You see, this is extremely important and powerful to know. The ending u on the third person plural is not pronounced. The second masculine singular are both pronounced طلت. The first person plural is qtaln. Yeah, that's fine. It will be seen that in the third feminine singular, she, and the first singular, the vowel is shifted to the first radical and becomes I. In these forms, if the third radical is softened, then it takes kushaya, kithbeth. I don't care about this at all. If you say kithweth, I think that's perfectly fine. There's no reason to worry about when things become hardened or softened or whatever. I wouldn't worry about that at all. It's not going to help you learn the language in the least. The third feminine plural of the perfect is curiously identical to the third masculine singular. This is the form in older manuscripts and in the East Syriac tradition. In later manuscripts, it is written qtal with a silent yod, a spelling intending to distinguish it in writing from qtal, but it's still pronounced qtal. Yeah, that's fine. It's annoying, just learn it. I don't know what else to tell you. There are longer forms of the first and third plural that distinguish them in pronunciation. These forms, less common, are qtalnan, for we killed, qtalun, for they killed, and then qtalin, for they feminine killed. This is extremely rare. I don't think I've ever seen qtalin. You will see qtalun once in a while, and you'll certainly see qtalnan. A number of verbs like dhel, to fear, have the vowel I instead of a in the perfect. So instead of qtal, so it's instead of idhal, it's dhel, and so appear as follows. This is an important distinction. So once in a while, the root will not be qtal. It will not have the a vowel. It will have the I vowel instead, and so he's showing you what that looks like. So let me go again. I'm going to read it in what I think is the logical order. Dhleth, I feared. Dhalt, you feared. So instead of dhalt, qtalt, it's dhalt, just that vowel changes. Dhalt, the ending is the same. You feared. Dhel, he feared. Dheln, we feared. Dhelton, you feared. Dhel, they feared. And then the feminines. So exactly the same, except this vowel is different than the pthaha. Verbs in a, like qtal, are mostly transitive. Those in I, like thel, are mostly intransitive. I guess. Transitive verb means it has an object. Intransitive means it doesn't have an object. I guess. There are exceptions like in pel, to fall, and zghid, to worship. I'm not even sure this is a good rule to memorize. Don't worry about this. Just learn the root. And some roots have this vowel, and some roots have this vowel. That's probably less confusing just to learn that. Verbs with a guttural letter, he, heth, or a, or resh, for the third radical, always have the vowel a rather than I, even if intransitive, like tmah, to wonder. Yeah, again, just don't worry about this rule and you don't have to worry about this. The particle lemad often introduces a direct object that is definite. In English, the instead of a. So in sound, pogdana min alaha. We received a commandment from God. Ntarn al-pogdana dansaun. Ntarn means to keep or protect. And so ntar is to protect. Ntarn is we protected, we kept. Al-pogdana, the commandment. Dansaun, that. Nsaw is to receive. Nsaun is we received. So both of these are part of that conjugation you just learned. I guess that's fine. I guess the lemeth can make it sort of more definite. That's fine. If the object is a pronoun, lemeth takes the appropriate suffix. The personal pronouns cannot be used as objects of verbs, obviously, except in non and nin, which are not the personal pronouns because the personal pronouns are hin non and hin nin. So no reason to say the sentence. Thus, he kept them may be expressed by either ntar in non or ntar lehon. So you can use the lemeth and this set of endings, or you can say in non. This is just the objective of hin non, the object of hin non. Either way, ntar means he kept. It's the basic root, ntar. If the object of a verb has a clause, it is introduced with deleth, shim'eth, danwiya at. Shim'eth, I heard, danwiya at. I heard that, I heard da, nwiya at. I heard that you are a prophet. I heard that you are a prophet. Shim'eth, danwiya at. To emphasize the object of a verb, it may be moved forward somewhat as in English. Minhon qtal. Some of them he killed. Minhon, so from them, some of them. Tal, he killed. Middim kithweth, kithweth. The thing that I wrote, I wrote. What I have written, I have written. Middim kithweth, kithweth. Emphasis can also be given to a word by the enclitic u f inserted after it. So this is just emphasis. You can use the word u for emphasis. من خونو نبقث ملثه دالها. Is it from you? So min khon, from you, is it? From you, is it? Nibqath, from you, is it? Came out the word of God. So did the word of God come from you? So this u really is just an emphatic thing. But it really literally means, is it? Is it from you that the word of God came out? So lahu marat kullah. Lach is to you. Lahu is just emphasizing to you, like really to you. Marat kulla modenan. We don't know modenan yet. That's the present tense. But we're starting to piece this together. Okay. Vocab. Kinsha, crowd, assembly. It's related to the word knushta, which you saw already. Synagogue or assembly. Pera, fruit. Methla, parable. Isha. I don't know, it's Yisha. It's Isha. I don't think that's, well, maybe they spell it this way. I don't know. The Westerns. Isha, Jesus. Agarta is a letter. Hadh means when or while. Orishlim is Jerusalem. Npak, now we have some verbs. Npak, to go out. So you can take npak and conjugate it and put it into the pattern that you saw above in qtal, all the way up here. And you have nibqaith, npakt, npak, npakan, npakton, npaku, and so on. Any verb you want, you can plug it in there and it'll work. And probably that's going to be part of your exercise today. Qala is a voice. Talyutha is childhood. It's obviously feminine with the tha at the end. Adam, Adam. Maryam, Mary. Kthau is to write. Tal is to kill. Dhil is to fear. Dhil min is to be afraid of. Shma is to hear. You can conjugate that with all the different I, you, he, I heard, and so on. Awad, to do or make. Ntar, to keep or protect. Tmah is to wonder. So timheth, tmaht, tmah, tmahan, tmahton, tmahu. And saw is to take or receive. Abar is to cross or transgress. Zghiv is to worship. Npal is to fall. And then Hawa is the name for Eve. Okay, translated into English. How many we got? Oh, just 4. Okay. Okay, there's 10. آدم وحواء عبر علاو على فقدانه دالها. كلهن هالين فقدان نطريث من طليوث or طليوثي. كلهن هالين فقدان نطريث من طليوث. شمعن من ناموسى دمشيحة أخواثه دموشيو شمعن من ناموسى دمشيحة أخواثه موشيو. شمعتون المثلى دعل ديانة بيشة وأكثى سوتا. كثويث الخون مطل هيمانوثة دئيث الكلن. إيث الكلن. شمعيث على هيمانوث خون وعلى هاي الطاواثة وذتون لواث قديشة. Let me do this one for you. Shim'ath al Heymanuth Chon. I have heard about your faith. Al hay tawatha wathton luath qadisha. And about al hay and about that fact, tawatha wathton, that you do good things, luath qadisha, towards the saints or for the saints. Maryam nitrath kulhen مل هالين بلبه. طل الملكة والكلهن عوداو ونبلث مذيتا. أورشلم طلت لنوية. تمه, remember Orishlim is feminine, that's why it's qtalt with this yod. Okay. تمه al كل مدم دعوذ شليحة وال من ليهون. So translate those and translate these into Syriac. That'll be fun. And I would like to also, I'm not going to do this whole chapter. This is just like exceptional things. I'm not really going to read through this for you. If you want to read through it, go for it. So this is just showing that some adjectives, the vowel changes into this. I think you just learn this as you're reading the language. So I'm not going to spend any time on this, but I do want to go through the vocab because there's some nice vocab words in this chapter. So the end of this chapter, vocabulary, there's some more nice verbs you can conjugate. Araq, to flee. Ba'al is an enemy. Harka is here. Qudsha is holiness or the holy thing. Gushma is body, or it could be in skin as well, or flesh. Mshuhtha is a measure, and it could be a measure of time, so an age. Mshuhtha. Alma is a world or an age. Dahwa is gold. Latu means not also, but no longer. Latu. Nisabtha. Nisabtha is a plant. Hachamtha, wisdom. Tu means again or next or also. Tu. Din is however or but. I'm pretty sure that comes from the Greek. Din. Swar is to think or suppose. And again, you can conjugate this. Sawreth, swart, swar, swarn, swarton, swaru, and so on. Qareu is to draw near. Hawra is a companion, masculine. Hwartha is a feminine companion. Dahaltha is fear. Dahlath alaha literally means fear of God. It's the construct state. Dahlath alaha means dahaltha alaha. Dahlath alaha means the fear of God or piety or religion. Buraktha is a blessing. Tuwana is a blessed one. Tuwanitha is a female blessed one. Asiq is difficult. The emphatic state is asqa. So a difficult thing is asqa. The thing is difficult is asiq. And then hnagtha is a groan, and its plural is hinghatha. A little bit of a change in the plural. Hinghatha. I don't feel like reading all these. Anyway, if you want to do some more exercises, you can do the ones at the end of this chapter too. And the next chapter, we go to, what is the next chapter here? Participles or the present tense. See you there.